So, in case you missed it, the Vote Remain campaign just spent the last 4 days shamelessly exploiting the murder of Jo Cox for votes. The polls were with Vote Leave. The momentum was with Vote Leave. Then a mentally ill nutcase who had been under psychiatric treatment killed a Labour MP. Quite what the deranged actions of one lunatic who liked to scrub himself with Brillo pads had to do with the EU making 60% of our laws, Britain being deluged with migrants, or EU regulations strangling small business, I don't know. But both camps announced that they were immediately suspending their campaigns. Except that the Vote Remain camp didn't suspend their campaign. After Project Fear failed, they turned to Project Grief. They immediately and vociferously went on the offensive, blaming Cox's death on Vote Leave supporters. Vote Remain campaign director Will Straw sent out an email urging supporters to cash in on the new context created by Cox's death to attack Vote Leave for creating, quote, division and resentment, blaming virtually half the country for the demented decision of one moron hopped up on psychotropic drugs. This is the same crowd that gave us "you ain't no Muslim, bruv" and hashtag "not all Muslims" after every single Islamic terror attack. This is the same crowd that attacked Trump for demonizing all Muslims after Orlando. It's racist and bigoted to even question Islam after every jihadist slaughter. But one drooling mentalist goes postal, and suddenly it's our fault for opposing EU bureaucratic tyranny. No. Fuck you. How dare you suggest that just because we don't want to be ruled by unelected dictators, that suddenly makes us all violent right-wing extremists. But Vote Remain were dutifully backed up by endless television coverage, implying that the only way to honour Cox's memory is to vote to remain in the EU. Newspapers publish headlines blaming this on Brexit supporters before Cox was even pronounced dead. Angela Merkel warned about radicalisation of language. Angela Merkel lecturing me about radicalisation. This is the same woman who just imported hundreds of thousands of Syrian migrants into Europe, 20% of whom support ISIS. This is the same woman who greases the skids for comedians to be put in prison for making jokes about foreign despots. George Osborne slammed Vote Leave for their, quote, baseless assertions and inflammatory rhetoric. This coming from the same people who threatened World War III and economic Armageddon if we left the EU. The same guy that threatened to punish Brits with tax hikes if we exercised our democratic will. Obama took time out to call Jo Cox's husband. He never called Lee Rigby's family. Nigel Farage suddenly became Hitler because he stood in front of a poster portraying migrants in a negative light. This is how dumb they think you are. Everyone I don't like is Hitler! And just today, Vote Remain launched another complete hoax, claiming that Saeeda Warsi defected from Vote Leave and recanted her views. She was never even a Brexit supporter in the first place. She tweeted about it once, 10 days ago, to attack Vote Leave. In 2011, she explicitly supported Britain remaining in the EU. Vote Remain. How dare you tell me to tone down my rhetoric while your people were out literally before Jo Cox's body was even cold, blaming this on your political opposition. You need to tone down your rhetoric. If you're desperate enough to have to resort to exploiting murder victims to make your case, you're clearly losing the argument. Brexit isn't about using the dead body of a murder victim as your own ventriloquist dummy to espouse your political views. Brexit is about immigration, it's about sovereignty, it's about the economy. Brits, you were wise to reject the crass, manipulative tactics of Project Fear, but don't fall for it again. Don't fall for the same people trying to fool you with this sick, distasteful rebrand of the same old bollocks. Reject Project Fear. Reject Project Grief. On June 23rd, Vote Leave.